everyone, it's Jennifer Brosnan here. I'm the founder of Women of Whitehorse, and I'd like to welcome you today to our September Lunch and Learn session. I'm really excited today that we've got Sue Ellson with us. Sue's an independent LinkedIn specialist, an author, trainer and consultant, and she's also an expert on all things SEO. Today she's going to be talking to us about what SEO does, essential SEO needs and strategies, as well as SEO work that you can do yourself and what you need to outsource. Before I bring Sue in, I'd also just like to let you know, first of all, sometimes we get a bit of an unstable connection and there can be a bit of a lag. It's the internet connection. There's probably really not much we can do about that. And secondly, if you have any questions for Sue, when she's finished her presentation, you can add questions to the live stream and I'll add them in. You just need to allow our software eCam to access your Facebook profile. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Sue in. Hi Sue, how are you?
Hi everyone.
Great.
Very well, thanks. Nice to see you.
Yeah, that's good. Now Sue, we're going to pass over to you because you've got a great presentation. Really looking forward to hearing everything about SEO. There's so many of us out there that have got websites and, you know, do outsource a lot of it to someone else, but it's always good to know what you can do yourself, and there are quite a number of things that you can do, which is great. So I'm going to hand over to you.
Cool. Thank you very much. Absolute pleasure to be here. And I thought I'd ask a couple of quick questions. So hopefully we've got some people who've dialed in on time. In fact, what I might do is just go through a little bit of an introduction and then come back to those three questions, because it would really help me to tailor the presentation for the Women of Whitehorse if I know where the people are standing right now. So we're not going to get really technical jargon here, but there is a very comprehensive workbook, and that's designed so that you can go through live after this event and go through the different steps. So I'll just share my screen and we'll get into it.
Great.
Okay. So this is the workbook, and as I said, Search Engine Optimization 101. And what I'd like to encourage you, if you haven't already done it, is to actually follow all of the Women of Whitehorse social media. And I know that sounds bleedingly obvious, but it's amazing how many presentations I do for organisations and find that the biggest fans still haven't followed on social media. So there's obviously the Lunch and Learn live stream group, as well as the Women of Whitehorse group, the LinkedIn company profile. You can actually mention that you're a member in the organisation section and also in the certification section of your LinkedIn profile, the Facebook page, the YouTube channel and Instagram. And I'll show you those numbers at the end of the presentation, and hopefully by then we'll have a few more people who've joined along. As Jennifer said, my name's Sue Ellson. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can see my website there. And today we're going to talk about search engine optimization. And as I said, there's a huge amount of information here in the workbook, and I do that specifically because for a lot of people this sort of information can be quite new, so it's really helpful if you can go back and review it afterwards. To give you a tiny bit of background on me, I joined Westpac 6 days after my last year 12 exam back in Adelaide in 1982, stayed there for 11 years, did lots of different jobs in the bank, and then moved to Melbourne, got a job, found out I was pregnant, and then got sacked whilst I was pregnant. It took me 6.5 years to get over that. But anyway, it also meant that the journey into the online world started much sooner than I expected in 2001 when I launched my first website for other people who'd moved. And so that's newcomersnetwork.com. In 2012, I set up camberwellnetwork.com, and I'm a member of lots of associations. I teach all over the place, mostly at the Centre for Adult Education and the City of Boroondara, for some of you who may have seen me there. And I've done a huge amount of voluntary work as well. Today is a voluntary presentation. And I've also written 5 books, so you're welcome to download those at 120ways.com. So normally what I do when I run this workshop is get people to share their details, but as we've only got an hour, I'll leave that out for today. But if there's something you'd really like to walk away with from today, please put it in the chat and I'll do my best to make sure I've covered it. I know Jennifer said I know all things SEO. Alas, I do not. I know the basics. I apply all the basics to both my own and my clients' websites. Interestingly, a lady I met on a course for the CAE, I said, oh, your website sounds a bit complicated, better you go somebody else. She went there and then yesterday came back to me because there's a whole bunch of things that were not done on her website. Now, the way I see it, a website should be set up with those basic search engine optimization functions already included. But a lot of people sort of sell you a website for $3,000 to $10,000 and then say, oh, and by the way, if you want us to SEO, there's an extra fee for that. And there's some basic things that should be done in the build of the website that shouldn't need to be done after the website. So, anyway, black hat techniques. They're the techniques that people use to try and dodge, the robots and work out a way to get onto the first page of Google search results. Those techniques are not good. One of those that you may have heard of is a linking strategy, and you pay an amount of money and you get all these links to your website. The only problem is they might be in a completely foreign country on completely unrelated websites, and Google can tell that they're dodgy links. And what can happen is you can be de-indexed from Google. They can literally take you out of Google search results. And then you go and try and remove all those links. So not only did you pay to get the links, you then got to try and pay to get them removed. And there's now link removal specialists who charge a fortune to get these old links tidied up and your website re-indexed. In fact, some people find it so hard they just start all over again. So please, I won't be recommending any of those techniques. What I will be recommending is something called the white hat techniques. And they're techniques that last today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, because they're all honest, they're all genuine, and they're all free, the ones I'm showing you today. So the idea of SEO is to maximize how many people actually come and visit your website. Search engine marketing is when you pay for that traffic. So you might pay for Google ads, you might pay for Facebook ads, some other social media ads, you might advertise on particular websites. That's search engine marketing, but we're just talking about search engine optimization. There's another couple of quick terms that you might like to know about. PPC, which is pay per click. So if you are paying for ads, that's what you're paying for. There's also the term CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions. So what that means is whenever your advertisement appears online, that's classified as an impression. Now, I don't know about you, but lots of ads appear on my screen doesn't mean I actually see them. So I believe it's better to pay per click because then people have actually come to your website. Whereas cost per impression, could be millions and not one person even click through to your website. Ultimately, what you need to ask yourself, though, is do you want traffic, loads and loads of people to visit your website, or do you actually want people to visit your website and do what you would like them to do? And that's what I classify as a conversion or a result. And to do that, you really need to start with the whole idea of what you're trying to achieve. What do you want people to do? Do you want them to visit your website? Do you want them to call you? Do you want them to book an appointment? Do you want them to purchase a product? Do you want them to get them involved in some other activity? And you've also got to decide, well, what would that person be putting into Google to find you? Because it could be something different to what you think it is that you do. So anything, if you're not sure about what that is, I've written an article on how to choose your next job or career, but essentially you need to know what your values are, as in what motivates you, but also the value you bring, your strengths, both natural and acquired. So I'm really good at accounting, but I hate it. So I've learned other skills and I'm quite good at those. And the context. So your personal circumstances may suggest that for now, you need to do something that you don't necessarily like 80% or more, because in the future you might be able to get to something that's sort of 85%. And that's okay. We all go through patches in our lives where things are not 100%. In fact, I believe they'll never be 100%. But if you can get to 80%, that's pretty good. So if we're going to think about, well, we want people to find us in Google, we've got to think about what words we will use. And the main words are your primary keywords. So one of my students ran the Northcote Music School. And so he thought that he had to optimize Northcote Music School in all of his content. But if I was looking to learn how to play the piano, I wouldn't type in Northcote Music School or even a music school. I'd be looking for piano teacher, piano lessons, piano classes, piano tutor, something or another like that. So it's more important for him when he collects those words that he wants to be found for, to make sure they're on his website, is to think about what they could be. So it could be related words, so piano or guitar. I might be interested in learning guitar instead. New words, keyboard or hologram projecting soundboard. The old word, if it was a musical instrument, it could be a ukulele or a banjo or, harpsichord, different type of piano. Descriptive, so I'm a master tutor piano teacher. Positioning, we do lots of play, not just practicing chords. Culturally appropriate, so if I'm going to send my child to the piano classes, I want to know that they're going to be safe, friendly, everybody's professional. And then there's other content that I would want to know. Do I have to purchase sheet music? How much practice is involved? Lessons, classes, times, costs, all that sort of thing. Now, if you don't know what your primary keywords are, this article here tells you how to find them. A lot of it is related to careers. So you look at job ads, obviously, but there's other ways you can find it too. So if you've got a Google AdWords account, you can find information on keywords there as well. But ultimately, you want to think about your location, the age range of the people. And if you're not sure what that is, you think, oh, my product's suitable for everybody. Well, it's not always. So if you're not sure about the age range, just look at people 10 years older or younger than yourself, their socioeconomic status, their education, income, lifestyles, general demographics, and do they want help or do they want it done for them? So if I get the hairdressers, I don't say, oh, well, I'll cut this side and you cut that side. I go to the hairdressers and they cut both sides. So that's a done-for-you service. And I'm sure there's plenty of us in the room who would love to get a haircut anytime soon. And the next thing you can do is a competitor or collaborator analysis. So this means you go and visit a competitor's website and you right-click on it. So just by way of example, I'll go to the Women of Whitehorse website. Oops, fingers are not connecting with the keyboard today. Try again. And anywhere on this website, where there's not something else, I can just right-click it and choose View Page Source. And on this page, this is what you would do with your competitors, is you would look at the title of the website. So here it says Networking Group for Women in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. And you'd also look at the description. And you could compare that for all of your competitors, and anybody who's going up better in search results, you'll be able to get quite a lot of useful information by looking at what those other organisations are using as part of their keywords. One of my students was an ex-engineer, and he developed this handy-dandy Excel spreadsheet and put all his competitors on the left, all the keywords they used on the right, and then he worked out what keywords he would use based on all that analysis he did of all of his competitors. So that's another way to find your keywords. So you can also look at social media platforms related to your target audience. I'm a LinkedIn specialist, so there's not a lot of point in me spending hours and hours on TikTok because I'm obviously looking at helping people with LinkedIn. And also you need to think about voice-activated searches. So there's a lot of people with devices in their home that, you tell the device to look something up online, and that's a voice-activated query, not something that you typed in yourself. So you need to think about what people would be saying to their device if they were doing a voice search rather than a typed search. And also remember that you need to label all your images, optimize your videos, and if you've got content that's really fabulous, then people will stay longer on your website. And also if you can link to high authority websites. So if you're in the city of Birindara, there's a website called lovelocallife.com.au, and you can create a profile on there for free, and that's a government basically website. So if you've got a website link on there, that's going to help provide value to you. So what do you need to start with? Well, you definitely need to have a Google My Business account. So if you haven't already got one, you just go to business.google.com, sign in with either a Gmail email address or your own email address, and you fill everything in. And you also fill in everything at aboutme.google.com, and you also make sure that you have access to your Google Analytics. So sometimes when people have their website built, the web designer puts Google Analytics on, but the account is on the web designer's account, not your account. So you need to make sure that you are the owner of the Google Analytics account. So yeah, just really encourage you to do that. And then you can sign up for Google Webmasters, and you can also sign up for something called Google Alerts. So I've set up a Google Alert for my name so that anytime my name is used in content online, in theory, I'll get a little message from Google saying, oh, by the way, Sue, you're now over on this website, and you can do that for your business name as well. Now, if you don't know how to set up a Google My Business account, you can just follow this link and it will explain how to do it. So yeah, that's a really, really helpful thing. So I'm just going to go back to Ecamm and see how many have we got in the room now? Just a couple. Okay. So I've got somebody saying, hi, Sue. That's very nice. Yes, please put your content in the chat. I'm really, really happy to answer questions. And yeah, definitely will do whatever I can to do that. And I'll keep coming back and checking in there. So if you have a WordPress website, and that's what I do recommend because there's a lot of bells and whistles you can add on later, even if you're not ready for it just now, there's a plugin that's created by Google called SiteKit, and that installs a lot of the Google products on your website for you and is kept up to date, obviously, because it's run by Google. So that's the one I recommend. And then there's other things you can do to optimize all of your content. So Google likes it when you've got lots of headings and different other things. I'll talk more about that later. And you want to have a logical order for adding new content to your website. And if you decide you're going to throw out that old website and get a new one, please, please, please read this article first, because what tends to happen is you might have been getting really good Google search results, you update your website and it tanks. And that's because Google had identified all the pages of your website that were fabulous, and then when you created a new website, there were different links. And so all that Google juice that you'd built up, you've suddenly lost. So what would you have on each page of your website? If you know, not every page will have this, but if the main content pages do, that's going to be helpful to you. So a great title, because that is one of the most important aspects of a page. So you wouldn't write an article about, you know, dogs are happy and free running about in the daily sun or something. I mean, who would ever Google that? But if you said pet care for dogs who live outside, that would be much more useful in terms of, you know, somebody putting a query into an online search engine. And I'm mentioning Google mostly because most people do their searches on Google. They don't do them on other platforms. And there's a stat coming up later. So you generally try and have one heading one. So you have a title, you have a heading one, and you break up your text so that you've got some heading twos in there. Hopefully you also have an image that you've relabeled, 300 or more words in actual text. Now, Google seems to love it when you link to other pages of your website. So if you are the author of that content and you link to your personal page on your website, so under About Us, there's a page just for you. If you link to that page, that's going to help you. So I go to between 1 and 4 events per week. One I went to last Tuesday night was on search engine optimization, and the gurus there said that Google is trying to match author content. So it's going to try and work out how much content you've written about that subject. So if you're a bit of an expert on it, it's going to trace you down and you'll be able to get those Google search results. So link to other pages within your website and other articles perhaps you've written there, but also get external links, opening in a new tab so it doesn't take people away from your website altogether. And also, if you link to the Women of Whitehorse and Women of Whitehorse links to you, that is called a reciprocal link. And so that is the best one. You link to them and they link to you. On your page, depending on the website builder you use, you'll be able to have tags, keywords, meta descriptions, all that kind of stuff. So fill all those in. And also make sure you tell people what to do when they visit that page of your website, because they may only visit one page. So you want to make sure there's something for them to do on that page. Check everything's done, publish it, look at it, the live version, and you're good to go. Now, there'll be bonus points if there's a video. One of my clients is now going through all of her blog posts and putting a video on her most popular ones, because she's found that since she's put videos on her posts on her website, her traffic has significantly increased. So you might want to have an audio recording. I do voice recordings of my poems and I put those on my website. If there's something interactive, a quiz or a questionnaire or some sort of activity that people can do, if you update some old content, just whatever. And also make sure your links work. If you have social media, and Google expects you to have a website that you update and social media that you update. It wants you to have both. You can't just have a fabulous website and no presence on social media. You actually have to be active on social media. Now, if you're the sort of person who doesn't like social media, I would suggest the main one you would go for is LinkedIn, because people will look you up, and that's really helpful to build your network. So if you're only going to have one social media, I'd suggest it be LinkedIn and your website and your Google My Business account. But if you want to go more, then it depends on your audience as to which ones you would take on. And if you're going to have social media, make sure your profiles are fully completed. Lots of people do not fill out their social media profiles. Put something on there at least once a week. And if anybody comments, make sure you respond to their comments. Also, really encourage you to have a bit of a Google reviews strategy. And later on, I'll ask you to review the Women of Whitehorse so that can have some more reviews on it. You can turn Facebook reviews off if you want to, but you can now get reviews on LinkedIn even, not only as recommendations, but if you provide services, you can get reviews on your services. I've also found that if you get just one review on the True Local website, you will come up in a lot more local searches. So that's a really good one to get a review on. And then there's specialist directory reviews. So one of the ones that I often recommend, because I seem to have a lot of clients who are natural therapists, is natural therapy pages. Getting reviews on there can be helpful to you as well. So there's lots of free listings, but the ones you should definitely be on. Now you might say, why on earth would I be on Yellow Pages? Isn't that old news? Well, no, Google actually looks at Yellow Pages for information. So those links there, if you haven't already got a Yellow Pages listing, you can click on those and create one. And believe it or not, they give you a free link to your website nowadays. So that gives you another little backlink. So that's really worthwhile. So put a listing on Yellow Pages, White Pages, and True Local. They're all owned by the same company. So I'll just go back to Ecamm, see if we've got any questions. I found LinkedIn reviews by accident last week, and I've already started. Well done. Great to hear. So yes, that is exciting. You can send out 20 requests at a time and see if people will review you. So where are you at now? Now, I'd like to share a little story. I had a client who was a counsellor, and she was based in Albert Park. And most people who know Melbourne would say Albert Park is a racetrack and a nice big lake, but not much else there apart from a few houses. So, and her counselling service was run from her private home. And so what we did is we optimised her website, not only for Albert Park, but I also mentioned South Melbourne all over her website, on her footer and on her contact page and so on. And so she could be found for Counsellor Albert Park and Counsellor South Melbourne and she was always on the first page of search results. And then one day she heard about this search engine optimization company, and this young man came over to her house and opened up her website in one of these assessment tools. I don't know which one it was. And all these red flashing lights came up on the screen, basically saying her website was terrible, even though she was ranking, right? And so she got so anxious about it. And this guy said, well, you know, for $500 a month, we can help you. And this is a lady who just provides counselling individually. She's not a mega rich millionaire. And he also said, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to get other counsellors to link to your website. Now, I don't know about you, but I cannot imagine any counsellor who's going to link to every other counsellor in the local area, because that'd be like giving away business. But she was so worried when she saw these red flashing lights on the screen that she was ready to hand over her $500 a month. And because search engine optimization is such this terrible mystery, there are so many people who just get so fearful. They think, oh, well, for $500, I'll just, let somebody else do it. So another one of my clients was spending $1,100 a month, and he got this fabulous looking report, and I got him to write to this company and say, what are you actually doing every month? And apart from preparing this fabulous looking report, they did a particular task that literally would have taken, less than 5 minutes. And they were getting $1,100 a month for it because my client didn't understand what he was paying for. So if somebody comes along and says, we'd like to offer you search engine optimization services, I suggest you put their website into one of these tools and see how it performs. And if it performs really well and you understand what you're paying for, then go ahead. If you don't understand what you're paying for, please do everything in this workbook first. I do not bother checking my website against this because I get plenty of work, I get lots of Google search results, and I get my exact right clients contacting me and booking appointments. So I don't need to, but I do things on a regular basis that ensures that I keep getting traffic. So what do you need to optimize? Well, the number one thing that Google is going to look at, or any online search query, is your location. So if I type in hairdresser, it's not going to give me a hairdresser in Lilydale unless I say look for one in Lilydale. It will sort of say, well, Sue, you seem to be in Canterbury right now, according to your internet connection. So we'll try and look for hairdressers in the Canterbury area. So think about your location. Now, I know some of you will have businesses, the non-location specific, and you serve customers all over the world. I get that. But Google still wants to know basically where you're based. You would then also want to be found for your business name. So if people know you by name, that you need to be found for that. You also need to be found for your personal name, whatever that is, because a lot of people sort of are their business, and then the keywords as well. And then a reasonable amount of activity, as I said before, and also how many other websites your content is on. So if the only 3 websites you're on are LinkedIn, your website, and Google My Business, that's only 3 websites. So that's why you need to be on White Pages, Yellow Pages, True Local, Love Local Life, all those other ones as well. So if you Google LinkedIn Camberwell Network, Sue Ellson, LinkedIn Specialist, you'll see that I come up for all of those. So as we're restricted on time, I won't do that, but you can definitely check that out. And the white hat search engine optimization techniques, here's a little list of them. And I'm not going to go through all of these. I'll let you do that in your own time because I want to show you some actual examples. And here it says how many searches are done in Google. So 70% of all online searches are done through Google. And if you want to understand how Google search works, you can visit this link here, or you can watch this video. Now, I know it goes for about an hour, but it's extremely informative. Now, there's a link I haven't put in this document that I just happened to find after I sent it off to Jennifer, which is how to get your website on Google search. And there's all these great things, whether you're a business or marketer, whether you're a developer or an SEO professional. Now, I guarantee you they're going to try and sell you Google ads, but there is a lot of information here. So I'll just pop that in the chat as well, because I think that is really, really worthwhile. And my chat's not appearing. Come back. All right, I might get you to, Jennifer, if you can put that link in. It's for some reason I can't paste in the chat. So it's developers.google.com/search. So that's where you need to go, and you'll get some additional information about getting yourself into Google search results. But things you might like to think about is how popular website yours is, how long people stay there. There's all these sort of other little bits and bobs that you can go through. So then if you think about, well, what sort of content is going to work for me? Well, it really needs to be interesting. So I avoid humour because I've worked with multicultural communities for many years, and what's funny to one person is not funny to somebody else, and I'm not courageous enough to play that game. So I always focus on useful information that educates people, and I try and put it out in a friendly and professional way, not a personal way. So I don't say, oh, I was, in the shower this morning and here's what I came up with. That's personal. Nobody needs to know where I got the idea from. Or, this is what I had for breakfast on the weekend. Nobody needs to know that stuff about me. So I don't share that kind of content. But if you have content that's viewed for a while, it's helpful, it loads up quickly, people come back to it, other websites link to it, it's constantly updated, it's got lots of nice formatting, interactivity, all those sorts of things can help your content be appealing. And if you want some tips, you can click on this link here, but I will warn you, about 600 pop-ups appear on your screen, but the actual content of that article is quite good. And then if you want that content to sort of go even further, if you're responding to a current issue, people are potentially more likely to engage with it. So an article I wrote recently was, should you be paid to attend a job interview? And that got a lot of interest because people don't generally talk about that topic. So yeah, it can really help add a little extra dimension to what you're sharing. So sending out the right signals. Google is always looking at what you're doing to try and do things. And I'm commissioning a painting for my next 2 books. And I wanted a picture of a beach umbrella. So I went looking in Google for a picture of a beach umbrella to sort of give my artist a little idea of what I wanted. And ever since then, I've been seeing beach umbrellas all over the internet whenever I look at anything on the internet. So you can rest assured if people look at something, that information ends up appearing in what they see online. And of course, everywhere we go, our phone is close by. So the microphone on our phone is listening and working out, oh, Sue keeps talking about beach umbrellas. Then, suddenly I'll see beach umbrellas in my Facebook feed and so on and so forth. So just be aware of that. But also, if you're installing little programs to track people, be aware that you need to follow Australian guidelines. And if your business attracts clients from overseas, you may have to abide by any privacy arrangements in other countries as well. So I believe that on iPhones now, the Facebook Pixel won't work. Yeah, there's all sorts of things always changing. So just make sure that if you're going to be doing those tricky things, that you're across all of the latest update. In terms of your links, make sure all your social media profiles link directly to your website. The number of social media profiles I see with HTTP instead of HTTPS in the website link is significant. And also the social media profiles keep adding more boxes all the time. So I do recommend every 6 months you look in your social media profiles and make sure every little box is being filled in on your social media, because that can link to things. And there's lots of other ideas for getting your website linked somewhere else as well. So the more that it's in those local search results, the better. I love having most of my clients close to home. Not only is it good, when we're in this lockdown type of environment, but when it's not lockdown, I don't have to drive for miles to go and see my clients. And then one client seems to know another client, and then I end up with all these clients in the local area, and that works really well for me as well. So this is what you need to measure in terms of your website. So your website, no matter who has built it, should load in less than 4 seconds. The bounce rate, which you can get from your Google Analytics, should be less than 55%. So what the bounce rate is, it means somebody came from search results to your website, they looked at it, and then they went straight back to search results. So a high bounce rate means that they didn't click on anything and they didn't stay and they just went straight back to search. So mine on my website is less than 2%. So I've made my website such that people will click on something when they land there. Time on your website, hopefully people will stay on your website for more than 2 minutes, and hopefully they'll visit more than 2 pages. And if you're achieving that, then you can go sort of next level, but that's sort of the basic point. And then you would obviously want to make sure that people are, the number of visitors is increasing over time, and lots of people come via search results, not just by typing in your website address and so on. However, there are threats to you ranking. A good competitor might come along and, steal your spot. So there's, a few little tips on that. But if you keep up to date, keep adding content, keep being active on social, keep getting Google reviews, then you have a chance to maintain your presence there. Now, if you want to get Google reviews, you need to give people a nice, easy link to click. So if you don't know what your place ID is, so you have to have a Google My Business account first, you can go here and type in the name of your business and you'll get this long convoluted numbers and letters sequence, and then you add that to the end of this link. So now if you click on that link there, you will be able to write a review for the Women of Whitehorse, and I'm sure Jennifer would very much appreciate that. If you would like to write one for me, you can do the same thing. But also, once you have a Google My Business profile, you get this little link here. So just to show you what that looks like, I'll go into my Google My Business profile, and here it says on this main page, get more reviews, right? So you click share review form and there's the link. Now it's changed again. Mine has got my author profile, but you could use that link alternatively if you don't want to use that really long one with the place ID. So yeah, you copy that link and then you can send that to people and say, please write me a review. Now, what I also like to suggest is that you have a spot on your own website to write reviews. So not everybody wants to give you a Google review. They don't have a Google account. So, and sometimes you just get emails, that was fabulous. So what I do is I copy paste those emails onto my website anonymously if I haven't got their permission, and I add them as reviews. So if you Google Sue Ellson reviews, it brings up this page on my website with some of those reviews on it. So that means I don't lose those reviews. I don't spend hours waiting for permission. I just put them on anonymously and add them to my website. The other benefit of that feature on my website is I can actually edit the reviews first. So if they've put a spelling mistake or no capital letter, I can sort of tidy it up. I don't edit them. I could, but I don't. And yeah, away you go. Now, if you're not sure about getting reviews, you can read that article. I see getting reviews as a risk mitigation strategy. So let's say you don't have any reviews and then you get a bad review. That's going to be really deadly to your business. Whereas if you've been asking for reviews and you've got, 20 or 30 reviews, and then you get a bad review, somebody says, they were just grumpy that day, and most people will ignore it. But as you can imagine, if you had no good reviews and only one bad review, that's going to be really bad for you. So it's definitely worth getting reviews, in my view. Now, when I started writing reviews, I got approached by Google to join Local Guides Connect. And that was super exciting because now when I write a review, I earn points. And so you can see here I've earned 3 badges because I've been doing this for 5 years now. And what you can also see is my contributions somewhere in here. Just go back to the main page. And you'll see that I've got a 6 star. So what that means is when I write someone a review, my review is likely to come up before somebody else's review. So here we go, my contributions. So I have added photos of the businesses I've reviewed. So if we look, see, you can see here I've earned 3,000 points and I'm a level 6, and see I've got that little orangey star. So what I can do is I can click on my photos. You can see here I've added 270 photos and I've had nearly 5 million views of my photos. So just to show you what this looks like, I went down to St. Joseph's College in Geelong and I took a photo just on my iPhone, and that photo was taken on my iPhone, right? And there it is, front and centre, anytime somebody looks at St. Joseph's College. So if they clicked on the See Photos, they would actually see my name there, that I contributed that photo. So you imagine if you did this for all of your favourite clients and suppliers, how grateful they would be that you had written them a review, and then every time somebody looks at it, it's going to get all these views. So if we go back to my contributions and we sort by views, that one picture there has over 1 million views. How cool is that? This one at City of Whittlesea, another 1 million. Camberwell Girls Grammar, nearly 1 million views. Unbelievable, where I've been able to sort of get these results. So that was my original secondary school, and did some work for Corowa. It's really good way to, support people who support you. And obviously if, people like me write reviews for you, then that's good for you as well. So consider joining Local Guides Connect and earning points. Now, I will go through some examples, but just to finish off what's in the notes here, here's places you can go for extra information. The meetup group that I was talking about that I went to last Tuesday is here, and their YouTube channel where you can watch these videos and be just as confused as I am by what they discuss. You can check them out, and then there's some other resources there. If you're not sure what you should do next, I recommend that you look at your website and make sure that when people land on it, they're going to visit more than one page, it loads quickly and so on, and that people know what to do when they go there. And that's a basic search engine optimization audit. You decide what you're going to do. So you can do maybe some of the basics, and then when you're ready and you've done all of these, then you can sort of outsource the copywriting or the other bits and bobs to other people as you go over time. If you would like me to share my best SEO tips that I'm currently using, receive an invitation to connect on LinkedIn, and for me to send you the marketing idea viability test from my third book, just email me with Women of Whitehorse in the subject line and I'll happily share that. I'd love to know what's been most helpful and what you plan to do within the next 3 days. Apparently, if you don't do anything with 3 days, you're unlikely to do it at all. And also, if you've got the workbook, I encourage you to go through it within 2 weeks because otherwise you might forget a few of the new things you've learned. If you haven't got a website, I encourage you to read these first 2 articles. And then if you have got a website and you're going to upgrade, again, remember to read that one. Other things that are coming up, you might want to, if you're in the city of Boroondara, either as a business or a resident or an employee, then you can come to the Boroondara workshops for free. I also run Camberwell Networkers on the second Wednesday of the month. At the moment, when we're doing it on Zoom, it's at 9 a.m. But normally, if it was not on Zoom, we would be 7:30 in the morning on the second Wednesday of the month. And then there's the actual workshops. The newsletter that the council puts out is great, and there's some extra tips. Now, these are the stats for the social media for Women of Whitehorse. So I would love to see those numbers change as a result of this workshop. So please click on those and make sure you follow or subscribe. So I'll go back to the chat, see if there's any questions, and then I would love to show you a couple of examples. And feel free, as I said, to pop your questions in the chat. So one of the things that Jennifer mentioned to me was that there's certain businesses that are in the local area, and one of them is a personal fitness business. So what I did was I looked for personal fitness Canterbury, because that's where I am. And I was super excited to see Alta Fitness is the top person in Google search results. And it's showing that they've got 29 reviews and they've got a 5-star rating, and that's their Google My Business profile. But even more exciting is if you look at the first result in organic search results, what you can see here is their website, which says Personal Training Canterbury in the title of the website, and then the name. So they put the title first and the name second. That's exactly how it should be, because more people are not necessarily going to know Alta Fitness. So they've done it really, really well. Now, when we look at their Google My Business profile, I was also really impressed because they've got all this information filled in: on-site services, hours, health and safety. They've got an event coming up. They've got questions and answers. They've got photos. They've got their reviews there. Hopefully they've responded. Yep, they've responded to these reviews as well. So that's perfect. And also they've got this description. And what I'm really excited to see is that they're posting in their Google business account. So to see what that looks like, this is my Google business account. You just go posts and you choose update, add update. And this is how you post in your Google My Business account. So if you're linking to your website, you put in a little picture, a little bit of a story, and you choose learn more and provide a link to your website, that lets Google know that you've added new content to your website. So that's really, really effective at promoting your business, letting Google know that you exist, and giving you ways to keep the Google gods happy. And another business that I looked up, I'm just checking my list here, was I did Women's Fitness Blackburn. And what you can see is the Curves profile, Google My Business profile, automatically comes up. So no Google Maps came up this time, but then it went to the local fitness website. So that's a website that obviously promotes lots of local fitness businesses. And then there's a Facebook page that comes up, and then there's the Yellow Pages listing. So you might recall me saying Yellow Pages is important, and then branch locator, and then Curves. So it's down here at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the challenge is, because it's part of a franchise, unless they had a specific page for Blackburn, it's hard to get that on the first of Google search results. So sometimes, depending on what the nature of your business is, it can be harder to get it up the top. But as you can see with Alta Fitness, they were able to do that. Now, the other thing I tried was Women's Networking, Whitehorse, thinking, council area. And exciting news, Women of Whitehorse comes up as the first link, and then another page of their website comes up second, and then the meetup comes up third and fourth, and then the Facebook page, and then the Whitehorse Business Group, and then the council, and then the council, and so on and so forth. And you can see that the posts have been there. There's my little post. Pity I can't like it on Google. That would be handy, wouldn't it? And Google has also found the Facebook profile. Now, as I was saying to you before, you need a Google My Business account. And when you have a Google account, what you also have is a personal account, aboutme.google.com. So what I recommend that all my clients do is prepare a list of all of their links to where they are online. So then when you fill in your About Me page, what you can do is you can add all these links in here. So if somebody Googles me, I'm telling Google here's where I am. So there's all my links. And then a bit further down, here's all my profile links for social media. And then here's all my contributor links. So I recommend you put all of those in a spreadsheet and then come back in here and go to aboutme.google.com and pop them all in. So that way you as the business owner can be found on all these other locations potentially when people search for your name. Now, the last thing I'd like to show you is a website that I built from scratch. And this is a business in Surrey Hills that I've been working with for many years. And they had a very old website that just had more content sort of added on over about 11 years, but they weren't getting any Google search results. So we've come up with this new design, we had to amalgamate lots of content. But the reason I'd like to show to you, great if you want to use their services, they do mapping. So if you want to know where your customers could be anywhere across Australia or develop franchise territories, anything like that, Spectrum can certainly help you with that. But what I want you to have a look at, so there's all their services, but there's all their resources. So what we've done is we've gone and looked, because the owner of the business has contributed a lot of content to magazines and articles and so on. So we've created all these pages on the website with all that content that he's had published. And over here on the About Us page, we've linked to some of his top clients. He's got the reviews page. And then there's this links page as well as a sitemap. Now, on the links page, we're linking to where Spectrum Analysis has a link, right? So it's on government websites, the Australian Business Register, and the Austrade Australian Suppliers Database. Now that is gold standard link. So that's called a high domain authority website. So now that we're linking to it and it's linking to Spectrum, that gives this website a lot more credibility. So these are some business arrangements he has. He's on these other websites as well. You can see here, True Local, White Pages, Yellow Pages. So if you want an idea of how to structure your website, you can just go to Spectrum Analysis, because this is a business one, and you can see all the types of links. You can also see that for each team member, there is an individual page. So if anybody Googles any of the staff members, and I'm the marketing person, one of these individual pages can come up in Google search results as well. And then on the Contact Us page, we've got not only just, fill in a form and contact us, but again, follow or subscribe, to try and get people to engage with social media. So what I might do is that ends the formal part of the presentation. I'd love to know what's been most helpful to you and answer any questions you may have. Or maybe, Jennifer, you've got some questions that you would like me to ask. Oh, sorry, I have got some questions here. I have two businesses. How can I change to the new one for location because the old one keeps coming up? So, Robin, do you have two separate addresses for the two businesses? Because if you do, what you can do under Google Business, are you still seeing my screen? Yeah. Is you can have different locations in your account. So because I run Camberwell Network, Newcomers Network, all these other ones, these are different stores, but still within my Google Business account. So I've also got, stores for my children because they've got their own Google page. But yeah, so I have individual locations and then I can edit those. So if there's some reason you can't edit those, feel free to message me directly and we can try and sort that out. Athena's had a name change in the business. The old one has 2 reviews that I didn't know about, so I want to use this. But can you change the old related business name or do you have to start a new listing? Great question. So what you should be able to do, Athena, is you should be able to Google that old business. So let's say it was Spectrum. And I'm in my Google account now, not in their account. So over here is their Google My Business profile. And here it says, own this business, right? Now you say, well, I own that business. So you can click on that and you can try and add this Google profile to your account. Now, what I would suggest that you do is make sure your email address is on your account first, because you're not going to be able to claim it if your email address is not on your account. So when you go into manage your account, what you can do is here under personal info, I think it is, you can add in those other email addresses. See, so you can see here I've got lots of email addresses in here so that it's representing all those other businesses I have. So hopefully that will give you access to that account. And Robin said, no, it's the same address. So you've got two businesses at the same address. Okay, well, good news is, Robin, I've got all my businesses at the same address. But what I've done is I've made it so that my address is not visible. Now, you can still have two businesses at the same address, as I said, because all of mine are. And you just still give them different store codes. And the reason you can't see my actual address on here is because if you look at my Google My Business profile and we look on the info section, I have said no location here, right? But if Sue Ellson and Campbell Law Network and I wanted to put my address on here, I could change that to my address in here. And you can have more than one business at the same location now. There was a time on Google My Business when you couldn't do that. The other thing I would also suggest is that these categories, you can have up to 10 categories for your business. So if you can possibly be called anything else, I definitely recommend that you add those additional categories in there as well. Great questions. Thank you. And that answers the question. Wonderful. And are there any other questions? Or Jennifer, do you have any questions?
Hello, Sue. Oh, that was amazing. There's so much information there, and there is so much for each of us to take away and do. And if we all just did even 2 or 3, options from that, we'd be in a much better place. I've written down lots of little notes because I've certainly have never put anything in True Local and yellow pages and white pages. I've done none of that, thinking that just having profiles across social media was enough. But clearly it's nowhere near enough. That was a really big one for me that I know I need to work on. It's just finding the time to do that, of course.
Yes.
And I do have Google Analytics, and I often go in and watch my Google Analytics because I love to go in and see how many people are live online at that time. And even just seeing where they've come from, what device they're using, what pages they've gone to, and where they come in, and what actions they take after they get there. I think that kind of information is just, it's so important, isn't it, as a business owner, to know, like you said, if there's a bounce rate of 55%, then they're just sort of looking straight away and going, oh, you've got nothing I want there. But you want them to start looking around and saying, oh, you run events and you've got workshops, and oh, you do this and you do that, and that's when you're actually seeing. And through that information, I've deleted pages saying, no, hardly anyone's going to that page. It's just not worth my while having that there. And like you said, I'm constantly updating my website to, and you need to, don't you, for Google to favour it, I suppose, that you're constantly putting information on there and just updating it all the time, even if you're just putting a blog post or, changing some data on there. So, I did know all that kind of stuff. But one simple question.
Yes.
Why did you say you don't have HTTP? You should have HTTPS.
Yeah. Okay, there's a question in the chat that says there's a workbook, and I emailed that to Jennifer. So Jennifer can email it to you and we'll try and get it in the group later. If you can't get it, just email me, sueelson@sueelson.com. And I think there's also rewriting her website. So the reason that HTTP, so when we built websites a few years back, the only people who had their website at HTTPS were the websites that had shops, because otherwise if you put your credit card in, from when I type it on my computer to when it gets somewhere else, somebody could steal that credit card information off the internet and use my credit card. So if you had a shop on your website, you had to buy something called an SSL, secure socket layer, or security certificate,
Right.
to make sure that the information from my computer to your website was encrypted, scrambled up so nobody could see it. But a couple of years back, well, probably more than that now, everything feels like it, it was 5 minutes ago, and then I find out it was 5 years. But anyway, Google turned around and said all websites should be at HTTPS now. So that means when you visit the website, there's that little lock in the browser bar. You will have seen it. And then you know that it's okay to put your credit card in. But if you saw some beautiful scarf in Bali on a website that said HTTP, you definitely would not put your credit card in that website because that information could be stolen. So what happens is people type in their website. They might type in www. You don't need to add that anymore. But if you ever put a website link anywhere, I always suggest you open a tab on your browser, you open the website, then you copy the link, and then you paste it into your social media profile. So you never sit there and manually type it, because the link you could have could be the one you uploaded 5 years ago, which is still the HTTP and not the HTTPS. And if you've got a good web designer, they would have automatically upgraded you, because there is now a very basic SSL certificate that is included in a lot of website, providers or website hosting companies. So like if you're in Squarespace or Wix or Weebly, it's already HTTPS. Or if you go to WordPress.
Come up with the warning too, doesn't it, saying the site you're about to go to may steal details or something.
That's
like that.
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So all of you would want to have a basic, SSL, so that your website is at HTTPS. And you don't need to have the W's there anymore. I just reckon it looks messy. And who the heck, everybody knows that if it says .com.au, it's a website. Like, why would you write that on a banner or advertising? Like, everybody knows what it is. Leave it off. In fact, I only put the email address, because you can work out what the email is and the website just by looking at the email address. And again, it reduces the clutter on the screen. Yeah.
Oh, that was just a wealth of information, and even using
Thank
the
you.
examples, going to my website and looking at the title. Now I'm going to go and use that and have a look at some other networking sites and see what they've got there, because that was really fascinating information.
Yeah, really simple and practical. And, the thing is, if you understand all this stuff, when somebody tries to bamboozle you, you have an understanding of it. I'm not suggesting you need to do the SEO, but I am suggesting you need to know what is improving to decide whether it's worth making that investment. And I believe you are far better off updating your website, sharing it on social media, updating your website, sharing it on social media, and writing a review. And just rinse and repeat that process and engage with the content. So if anybody makes a comment, you respond. That's all you have to do. Like, if you're doing it reasonably well, you'll get the traffic. No problems at all. But people get confused and they think, oh, well, they're going to do X or they're going to do Y. But like I said, I was with this lovely lady yesterday, and she went somewhere else for a better web designer. And I don't classify myself as a brilliant web designer. I use templates and, whatever I can to sort of make it easier. But my websites perform because I've done the basics, just the simplest basics. And that's what you need to do.
SEO Yoast?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a great
But
one.
not the premium. Yeah.
Right. I like that with you have to get a set of traffic lights, and it's like, how many traffic lights can I get? And then you get the double green lights. Good to go.
Yes. Yeah, but not always, because what you've got to remember is at the end of the day, there's a human looking at that content. So you've got to say to yourself, the fact that I've written piano 64 times on the one page, does that really help the user? No.
Yeah. Why?
Why is she writing piano all the time? Yeah. So, you've got to remember, it's all well and good to have the technology working, but at the end of the day, you've got to remember a person is looking at your content and what do they want to see and what's going to benefit them. So if I'm looking at a women's networking thing, how much is it to join? What value can I get out of it? I need to know those things up front. Otherwise, I'm just not going there. Or is there something free I can check out before I make a purchase? Because I tell anybody who's considering joining a network, and this is of any sort, professional, privately run, online, whatever, is you should always go at least twice. Because sometimes when you first rock up at a networking event, everybody's really nice to you. And lovely to meet you. Why don't I introduce you to Mary, blah, blah, blah. And then the next time you go, it's like, oh, yeah, seen them before. And it's like, what am I now? Chopped liver, and I've just spent $1,000 to join this network. So I always say, go
some
twice.
that the same people go all the time and it gets quite cliquey. So
it does.
I suppose going twice, you'd sort of work that out, wouldn't you?
You do,
that's right. None of us can go anywhere at the moment anyway, unfortunately, for a while. So
well, we can go online and we can get a bit of a vibe. But I would rather people pay a fee twice rather than automatically sign up, go twice and never go again. To me, that would be a waste. So, yeah, you've got to sort of nut it out and work out. And also you've got to work out how you can contribute too. Because, network is not just what you can get out of it, it's what you can give to it as well. And the networks I run, they work for so long because I have a group of regulars who turn up every so often, and I always have new blood coming through. And I found that that's what keeps a network alive. Whereas those ones where it's always the same people, yeah, you're right. People just naturally become political or cliquey, whatever you want to call it, and they sort of keep talking to the same people all the time. Yeah.
Now, you've got a LinkedIn course coming up or something, haven't you? Could you tell us
about yes. That? Okay. So, yes.
I think one of the ladies that's on now is a business coach. So
it's for business coaches and career specialists. So if you look at my LinkedIn profile under my company profile, Sue Ellson company profile, and you click on events, you'll see it. So it's free. I have now, let me see, the number is increasing like 10 a day. LinkedIn for business coaches. If anybody wants the link, they can just email me. 520 people from around the world are coming to this online event. It's been amazing. So I plan to relaunch the printed version of my 5th book because I only launched the digital version in November last year. So I want to have the print version available at last for LinkedIn for me and my career or business. And then I'm also trying madly to prepare a course that people can do because LinkedIn is my main specialty. And what I teach on LinkedIn is very specific, whereas a lot of people just say, how can I get money out of it? And I'm saying, well, how can I attract what I like? And because I don't have time to make prospecting calls and reach out to people and connect. I don't have time for all that, right? So the way I design LinkedIn is so that the right clients find me. And then they just basically contact me and book. And that's the way I run LinkedIn. So, yeah. And any other questions from the group, from Facebook that you've seen pop up?
No,
nothing else?
I think quite a few people will watch this later because doing the homeschooling thing is
challenging.
Taking a toll. So I'd like to say a big thank you, Sue. It was just fantastic today. We got so much information. Now we'll share all your details in our group and pop the PDF in there. And if anybody wants to contact you further, all your details are there, as well as follow you. So thank you so much for joining us today. And
you're welcome.
Hopefully you can make one of our events.
In real life. Yes. And look, please let me know when it's on YouTube because what I do is I add any videos that I'm in to the Sue Ellson playlist.
Okay.
So that can give the Women of Whitehorse a bit more of a plug as well.
Lovely.
So once it's
it'll
on,
be up once it's loaded in 2 hours. Yeah. So then I'll send you the link.
Super. Yeah. Lovely.
All right.
Thanks,
Jennifer.
Very much
for joining
Bye, everyone.
us, Sue. Ta-da.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.